In this video, I'm going to explain why there's a double standard for Asian men in dating, but not in the way that you think. This professor from Penn State University, Dr. Richards, he was trying to demonstrate how an Asian guy has to make $247,000 more than a white guy in online dating. Now, this video has gone viral, and he has this poor Asian student stand in front of a white guy, literally side by side, and then in front of the whole auditorium, and he asked this girl, to pick between the two, and to demonstrate that the Asian guy needed to make almost $250,000 more. It was kind of funny, but I think it was taken way out of context. Number one, the study he's referring to was actually originally from the University of Chicago and one researcher from MIT. It was a collaboration, and it was published back in April of 2006. And if you actually read the study, they used data from 2003 with two groups of users from Boston and San Diego. In the paper, they mentioned, we observed the users' activities over the period of 3.5 months in 2003. So the only online dating sites that were big enough to have that kind of sample size in 2003 was probably Match.com. There were no swiping apps at that time. So a lot of details already being omitted in this particular lecture. First, the study had a very high requirement for a match, okay? It's not just a swipe, it's literally back and forth emails if you look at the formula. So that made the bar higher. The second thing is a lot of things have changed since 2003 really in interracial dating. Now most Asian guys have no clue when it comes to online dating. Most guys actually have no clue when it comes to online dating, especially back in 2003 when online dating is still relatively new. I can only imagine the Asian stereotypes on those profile pics were way more cringier than even they are today. Back in 2003, that was my college days, it's likely that the users that were using online dating and Match.com, their demographics were probably older, and also specifically in the study, they said they were looking for marriage. Now, most guys already have no clue how to do online dating, and you're adding to that he's an Asian guy, and a time when interracial segmentation was probably worse than it is today, and also given that the barriers for writing an email match at that time is quite difficult. You're corresponding email and the person has to write back. So of course, a girl, in her early 20s to early 30s in 2003 is probably more likely to match with a guy of her own race. A lot of the data we see in online dating falls aside when you realize how to stand out from the crowd. There's a principle called cultural pre-selection. So this happens in online dating as well as modeling. Let's say you have a Black or Asian model who doesn't get picked for shows, right? It's happened to me. But if they break through at some point and they start booking shows and they look just ethnic enough, suddenly every designer wants to book them. If your profile is set up in a way that actually breaks through the noise and actually stands out, you suddenly own the competition. Simply because most Asian guys and most men in general don't know how to take good pictures and how to exhibit the same underlying emotions that turn off the negative stereotypes and reinforce the positive stereotypes. And furthermore, as you start going out in field, in addition to online dating, you start to realize that how women behave and what they say, and even how they behave online versus how they behave in person are completely different things. And so when you interpret the data, it's not necessarily showing you the true reality. The last point I'll make is that even today, we know from an engineer that leaked actually Hinge data, Hinge is an online dating app, that 20% of guys get 79% of the girls. And this is for all men, not just Asian men. So what this means is, and I know this from coaching my clients, is that most guys, when they do online dating, they just don't know how to do it, or they don't have that. If you're not in that top 20% threshold, you really have to figure out a way to stand out. And Pareto's principle holds true. The guys who understand it or naturally gifted who just look like that, top 20% get about 80% of the results. In short, I don't think Asian guys need $250,000 a year to compete in the online dating game or the dating game in general. I think that study needs to be interpreted correctly by the professor. And I think a totally clueless Asian guy with no style, no game, and no way to show his personality might need $250,000, but the majority of us with regular incomes can totally achieve dating parity with someone else who's not Asian and dating abundance by working on our style, our game, our social skills. What do you think? Do you agree with me? Have you seen that particular video? If you want more advice on your style, online dating, and the one unbreakable opener you can use to meet any girl as an Asian guy, check out the links below. And subscribe and like if you want more social advice and tips.